Hello and welcome to the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Julie Boyer. And today I am very, very excited to bring to you one of my dearest friends, Natalie Dion. Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for the invite. I'm really excited to be here.
I am so excited to share your story with so many people because I not only do I know your story well, I actually lived through parts of your story with you. Natalie is a network marketing professional, and we've been working together in USANA since I started my journey with the company. So we've been working together for 15 years. Natalie is an international speaker. In fact, just when COVID hit, her and her partner were in Australia, I believe, and had to find their way home quickly. Speaking of her partner, she lives in the eastern townships of Quebec with the love of her life, Denis. You can see, if you're watching the video, you can see them. They're in a picture frame behind Natalie, and they are honestly like just the most amazing couple. And she wanted me to make sure that you knew that she was also a dog mama to her puppers Sky. But there's so much to Natalie's story, and that's why I wanted her to connect with us today, because what I love is that you've reinvented yourself a number of times. You've taken risks and really worked really hard on your mindset for so many years. And I think that's really powerful and can help a lot of people. So I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of how were you when you were growing up? Did you always kind of have a sunny disposition and a healthy mindset? Is that what you were as a kid?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. My head is going, yeah, I think I was always like a happy kid. And I think I was a big dreamer. Like I always had those crazy ideas. And I remember I was saying to my cousins, you'll see when I'm going to be big, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And yeah, I was playing those things in my head all the time, wanting to be this and wanting to be that. And yeah, I think I've always had this facility to to dream big. Yeah. And yeah,
Oh,
I
I
was a
love
happy
that.
kid.
It's a big one because a lot of what we do, especially in network marketing, involves being able to dream bigger dreams and
Yes.
to be able to challenge mediocrity and to be able to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, which is a lot of the ways that we spend our time is in this discomfort. Now, um, we're going to fast forward a little bit. So you grow up. Did you attend post-secondary? Because it's different in Quebec, right? You did do a
Uh,
cégep
okay,
and
yeah, that's why
I
I
know.
did college and university.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. So
yeah.
cégep, which is like the college. What did you study in university?
Oh, well, college was fashion design.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
I never knew that.
And then I kept going to university in graphic design,
Ah,
which was something I really enjoyed more, like all the marketing aspect of it and but always creativity. I wasn't like a very good in any when you just have to read and study. I had to be creative in everything I was doing at school. So
I love that I'm already learning things about you in the first 5 minutes of our interview. This is so amazing.
we've been knowing each other for so long, so it's funny.
It is, and that's actually one of the things I like about interviewing people that I've known for a long time is I get to ask them questions that I might not otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So then, Madame Creativity, how did you end up working a corporate job?
Yeah. Well, I was unsatisfied being always just on the creative side. I remember one job I had, I was doing all the advertising for newspaper and all of that. And I kept going to the sales director and asking them, so what about this thing we did in the newspaper? Did the sales went up? I needed the result. And this is how I realized that I'm not just creative. I'm more like, I want to be creative, but I have to be able to measure the results. So slowly I changed my path, and eventually I got this opportunity and at Costco, where I had many positions. I was in the buying department, human resource, and I just like followed. I had other opportunities before that, of course, but every time a door was opening, I was like, you know what? Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And, but always having in the back of my mind, oh, I'd love to be my own boss. Always.
I actually feel that because when I was working in corporate, I always had like more ideas and creative ways that I wanted things to work more efficiently or see better results. And when you and I were in corporate roles, that kind of intrapreneurship, someone who within a company wants to make changes, wasn't really as accepted. It's still maybe not the ideal, but that drive to want to do your own thing and have this creative outlet that you're the stewardship of is pretty exciting. So then somehow, some way, you are in a burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, because, for many reasons, I was working really hard. Of course, I like to, when I do something, I like to do it all the way. But I guess eventually I got clarity on what I wanted to do. And my career wasn't perfectly aligned with my values. And when you keep going to work every day against a little bit your value, eventually it's going to drain you. And that's my explication of how I burnt out, because there was many things I wanted to change. I didn't have the power to change, and it just wasn't. And of course, after my burnout, well, then it got really clear that I didn't have the right vehicle to go exactly where I wanted to go. And health, of course, became like at the top of my list. And, working in corporate, working long hours, 55, 60 hours a week is not totally aligned with having, a super healthy lifestyle, let's say. So yeah, 4 months later, I was on burnout for 4 months. But you know what? I love to share that with people. I think it's one of the best gifts I got from life, because I learned so much from it. And because of that, I asked myself even better questions. And I became really like non-negotiable that I was going to choose me and my value and what lights me up in life. And, it was like a new life that started from there.
Oh my goodness. I made a quick note, because what you said about when you're in a job or even a business that is not aligned with your values, and every day you're coming up against it, and just it's a little bit every day. Right.
Yeah.
And then over time, you wake up and you're like, I am burnt out. And that I think is a really key message for a lot of people, especially women who might be listening, who are like wondering why they're burnt out. They might be wondering, is it the pandemic or is it something else? Because truth be told, right now, burnout is happening for a lot of people because our especially women, our mental load is so much higher. But this ability to identify and understand what our values are, and then to say like, wait a minute, am I showing up every day in somewhere that's not aligned with my values? That's going to chip away. So
Oh, yeah.
that's a big one. So then
Yeah.
when you happened, tell me a little bit about this story, about how you happened to discover network marketing.
Well, actually, my parents, when I was a kid, were part of network marketing at some point, with, like many parents. And but for some reason, it didn't work out for them. And they had a restaurant, actually. So it was just like a little thing that passed quickly in their lives. So I knew a little bit about it. But it's really the health part that got me to network marketing, because after my burnout, I started changing the way I was eating. I became strict vegan at that time. I was doing yoga. I was doing a lot of things. I moved to the country. That was a big one for me. And one weekend, I went to a big health expo we have in Montreal that we don't have, of course, now during COVID. But and that's how I went there, and there was a booth, a USANA booth, and this is how it's the health part that attracted me. And after, of course, all the business model, like really, really resonated with me. And I started part-time with my full-time job. I kept my job for 3 years, and I started part-time. And eventually I made the decision, like it's not an obligation for anyone to do that. I always make sure I mention that, but I made the decision to really go full-time into my business. And I realized once I did that I should have done it earlier. It was really, I've never looked back. Like USANA was my first company, but it was so aligned. And I took like 3 weeks to decide. I made a lot of research. I looked in other companies. I really made sure, I wanted to be sure this time that I was going to be somewhere where I would feel on my X. Can you say that? On my X?
Yeah, on your X. Yeah, yeah.
On my X.
Right on
Yeah.
this, exactly in the spot where you needed to be. Yeah.
Exactly.
Alignment.
Exactly.
Alignment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that is actually, and it's not the story for a lot of people that, come across network marketing. They don't always find the right alignment at their first go. Definitely not. That is a huge gift, because you went from a health perspective first too, and it helps that that's a priority for USANA. It's actually one of the four values of the company. So that, aligns really well with who you are as a person. And we look, all these years later, of course, like, I mean, you're so healthy. Are you going to tell us how old you are? For those who are watching this video, you will never believe that Natalie is over 50. She looks...
I'm going to be 55 this summer.
I can't even believe it. And you were telling me you were out snowboarding yesterday.
Yes.
And you love to stand up paddleboard and yoga.
You know what? I just think, we change, of course, but I just think that it's a question of mindset. I always push. Am I nervous when I try new things? And like to this day, even when I snowboard, like, and I'm at the top of the mountain, I always have that little feeling, but I always push myself to do different, hikes or activities, or I don't like status quo. I love to try. This is my drive in life. I like to try new things. And that's why I love traveling so much as well. Just experience new things. And I guess as well, especially when you get over 50, you have that feeling inside of you that you have to experience in a faster pace, because, half of your life is kind of... gone.
I mean, we're doing everything we can to live long and healthy lives, but I feel you. I'm 45 just turned 45. So feeling that different feeling of really just choosing to have the experiences that we have, regardless of whether we can travel or not. And I think that's important right now.
Yeah.
So when I met you, you had reached a certain level of success in your business. You were doing well. I remember my business partner and your good friend as well, one of your closest friends, Leanne Jacobs, when she met you, you were already doing well in your business. You were doing yoga in the morning, drinking your green juice. So you kind of had, you had a good life, a good career in network marketing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of stayed there for a little bit. The woman with the big dreams and the big vision, you got to a good level, a good paycheck.
Yeah.
And you stuck around there. So
for 8 years.
There.
Well, I guess we all have to embrace our journey, like that was my journey. And even if I would say today, well, I would have done it differently, there's nothing I can do. And this journey makes me who I am today. So that being said, it's just that I got comfy, I was like an entrepreneur. I was making a reasonable income. I had the lifestyle, the freedom. I traveled. I met Denis. We bought our first house, like just things. I got busy with life. And then I started losing my momentum. And I guess I started just being satisfied, which is okay. I have nothing against that. But I'm a true believer that, well, I'm going to speak for myself. I am here to do things in life and shine in the world at a bigger scale than just, being comfy. Let's put it that way. And so a few years passed by. I started losing my momentum. And again, a little bit like the burnout part, I wasn't happy. Like I wasn't satisfied with what I knew I could do more. I could impact more lives. I knew, and it's not a question of money only. Well, I knew I could earn more, of course, but that wasn't my main motivator. It was like this. I wasn't satisfied. I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, you can do more than this, and that kept dragging, it was like heavy. And so I stayed at the same level for 8 years. And to be honest, it wasn't exactly the same level because my income started going down at some point. And to a point that I asked myself, should I go back to corporate? And the answer was no, of course.
Natalie, I think that's an important thing to share because I'm sure that there are people listening that have a network marketing business. Maybe it's something they do on the side, or there might be people that also do this as a full-time profession. And I think it's really good to clear up the misconception that if you build your network marketing business once, you never have to do anything again and you're set for life. Like that just isn't a real thing. It doesn't happen. If you get comfy and coast and stop investing in yourself and your business, because first is always investing in yourself, the income's going to drop. That's attrition. That's what happens. And you were seeing that, and we've all been through that as leaders in the profession. That is normal.
Yeah.
It's a wake up call. It's a reminder to do this. And this is fun because then you and I started connecting on a different level at this time when you said, okay, enough of the comfy, let's start to move forward. It's interesting, Natalie. I wish I could share the photo because I have in my mind a photo of you and Leanne and I at an event over a decade ago. And I look at you today and how healthy and vibrant you are. And I think back to that woman in that picture, and it's not the same woman. And wouldn't it be amazing if instead of like, as we age, we look older and less healthy, to see the opposite?
Yeah. I'd love to see that picture, actually.
Oh
Can you send it to me?
I'll find it. It was an event that you had come to Toronto to do. And and I remember your skin was kind of uneven, a little bit, maybe blotchy. And you looked just a little less, you looked like inflammation, right? Like same with Leanne. We were all a little bit puffy. Yeah. We're all dealing with inflammation. And anyway, I just think it's so, I know that a lot of people are listening and not watching, but I want you to imagine, like, if you're 50, imagine your 40-year-old self. Do you look healthier or not from that 40 to your 50-year-old self? And so all of a sudden you're here. Was it the year that you turned 50 that you decided to make the change?
Yes, pretty much. Because at 49, I had that wake up call that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 50 next year. And I've been saying that at 50, I'll be, financially free, which means just to, for the people like listening to this, financially free doesn't mean like it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
It's your income covering your lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there. And I had promised my fiancé, Denis, to retire him from corporate, and which at that point, he wasn't even listening to me anymore because he had seen me for 8 years being in this, like, stable situation. So yeah, one day it was just a wake up call. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to move forward, success is not an option. It was either I quit or I'm going to create the success I want. And I started putting myself in action. And I didn't tell them at the beginning. I said to myself, let my action speak louder than my words, And he started seeing the difference. And then I hit a level in our company, and then another one and another one. And at one point, I won a trip to Costa Rica. And then he was still working. And this is where everything changed for us, because he was able to take a week off from corporate. He came with me, and then he didn't just see the vision, he really felt it, because he met other leaders. He met families, like doing USANA together full time. And maybe I'm going to.
No, this is great. Continue.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Keep going. I love this part of your story.
Okay, perfect. And at that trip specifically, I think he started believing, okay, I think that we can do this together. And this is where we said to ourselves, we fell in love with Costa Rica, and we said, can you imagine? Well, it wasn't, can you imagine? It was, the goal is to come here 1 month every winter. That was the goal. And so we said, okay, I'm going to keep working hard at my business. Denis was going to keep his corporate job, and we would keep that plan for 1 year. That was the plan. But we came back, and 2 weeks later, he came back home, and I thought he was acting a bit weird, And I said, babe, what's going on? You're different. And he said, you know what? Let's do it now. I'm ready. We don't have to wait 1 year. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And so I still have a lot of admiration for him for doing that big move, because he has been working since I think he's 16 years old, So that was a big move to do that. And so he did the move. And the following winter, we went to Costa Rica, but for 2 months. And last winter also for 2 months. So it's crazy when you plant a seed in your mind, and we were talking about it all the time. We were like, Denis was looking at Airbnbs on his phone all the time. We would talk. We would eat on Saturday night with a globe on the table, looking at the places we would travel. And this like grew up. And my actions and my momentum were always aligned with that. When you have like big goals like that, and you're so, like stimulated by them, you're so, it was like we were living it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
So I couldn't like just say one day, oh, I don't feel like it today. Like it didn't even cross my mind. It was like, so that's how, we got like really 5 years of big growth, and still super motivated with big goals. And yeah.
Oh, you said something there, and I wrote it down because I think it is critical to this journey that you've been on for the past 5 years. And you said, success is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
You just made it. That was it. Like, it's not optional, right?
No.
It's not optional anymore. You got to that point where it wasn't optional. And what I want to say is, instead of not being optional because you had burned out and things were terrible between you and Denis,
Mm-hmm.
you went the other way. You
Yeah.
went and looked and said, no, like, this is it. I promised that we would have this life together. And I get really emotional because
Mm.
I, like many women in network marketing, have said it would be so great to retire my husband, but you didn't retire him. He decided,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we as women in network marketing, especially those in leadership, is what happened with Denis is so much more powerful than you being like, okay, honey, you can quit your job now.
Yeah.
Right? It was him deciding that he wanted to be a part of the life that you had been in action creating for the both of you. And he's like, I'm in. And
Yeah.
that is such an important thing because we do hear this message a lot. I want to retire my husband. I want to retire my husband. What if your husband doesn't want to be retired?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't just hang on to this because there was many years where Denis, I was talking to him about that and he wasn't interested at all, you know? So yeah, you're right. It has to come from him. And so that it was really, I think the big motivator was that we wanted to be free together and be together all the time and to, like this pandemic for us, it's not changing much. We're always together. And that's how we love it. We love to travel. Now, of course, we do other things. And when you mention success is not an option, that is so like, I really did cut myself from any other option. I knew that if, like, I still remember the feeling, if I wasn't doing that, this would become the biggest regret at the end of my life. And I lost my dad about 6 years ago, and we didn't have like sorry, I'm going somewhere else totally, but he shared some stuff at the end of his life that he never shared with me before, and I knew he was full of regrets, and that was very eye-opening for me. That, okay, how, like, I know we don't like to think about that, but your last day of your life, like, you want to look back and tell yourself, oh my God, like I did live big, I did everything I could, I did, and if I would have stayed in that statu quo, where it was like easy and comfy, and that meant big regret at the end of my life. And, people always, not always, often, and this is what I was doing myself, we often choose instant gratification, instant pleasure. It's instant. We want it now, quick, no sacrifice. I don't want it in 5 years. I want it now. And that's why so many people in network marketing fail, because they choose maybe one night after work rather than doing some specific activities in their business. They choose to, oh, let's go, well, not now, but let's say have a drink with friends or rent a Netflix or whatever, because it's instant gratitude. But when you have a vision that makes you, like vibrate inside, it's totally the opposite. You're like, no, Netflix, far from me, I have to do this. So yeah, I think it's the why behind everything. It's the why. It's the motor.
Oh, Natalie, you've said there's so many things that I've written down during this interview because there's so much wisdom that comes from what you shared. For me, when I think about wake up with gratitude, it is that, you said we don't really think about death, but wake up with gratitude is that moment of being reminded that today is a gift.
Yeah.
And that it's about what you can do today. And yes, the work I do today is about the vision of what I'm building, but it's also a reminder that today is not, tomorrow's not promised. And there is only that today. And that feeling of big dreams and big goals. So I know that gratitude is a big part of your life. I know it's something that you practice. I'd love to hear, how does gratitude fit into your life? Is it like a daily practice, or is it just a way that you live? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Mm. I went through different stages with my gratitude. I used to have a journal. I was like journal for a long time. Every night I would write at least 5 things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes it was in the morning when Dyer is saying, when you put your feet on the floor, like say stuff you're grateful. There are so many things you can do. But I think that now it really has become something that is part of me. I'm grateful, I think, naturally, I'm gonna, I don't know, sometimes let's say we take a walk and I'm gonna say to Denis, suddenly like that, just walking, I'm so happy. What about you? Life is so good, like I have this kind of natural way of being grateful. And when I'm not, I switch myself, like really. Yeah, we all have bad days, okay, let's be honest. It's like totally normal. But the difference with gratitude, I think those bad days you can rebound faster, because you can just say to yourself, okay, I'm not having a bad day, let's focus, what am I grateful for? And I don't care if it's like, your dog, your whatever, your shake you just did, whatever, it is something very simple. But just doing that, it will bring back your focus on the right thing. So it's really like, it's there all the time. I'm grateful, I'm grateful. And I repeat a lot. Let's say we go for a hike. Denis doesn't even know. Like, I'm always behind him. I follow him. And I always say, I'm so happy and grateful now that, and I'm grateful for my goal that I have. I always say that. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have a team of, or that I reached this level, or that I impacted. But I repeat that all the time, and it's part of my DNA now, I guess. It wasn't always like that, but I guess it becomes like that. And I'm sure you are like, it must be in your DNA as well. You're the super gratitude queen.
Well, except that I'd never thought about that when I'm hiking. So I love that idea while you're hiking, is that repeating of what you're trying to manifest in the
Yeah.
real world, the goal, and just saying that in your head as you're hiking along. So I love that. I'm going to adopt that new one. Friends, I am sure that you're going to want to find my friend Natalie and connect with her. So where do we find you on the socials? Where do you like to hang out?
I hang out on Facebook, on Instagram. Those are my two favorite, Natalie Dion, and my website, nataliedion.com. So those are my places where I love to hang out.
And if you want to hang out with Natalie on Instagram, she's there a lot. There's lots of I love the way you write. I love the way you inspire us. I love the way you remind us of travel too. I know you guys had some great trips last year, and those memories coming back and sharing. And your your partner is a great photographer. I know it's like you've been engaged for so long. It's like,
I know. Now I'm calling him my husband, but we're working on a plan for this.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear about that. I know it's going to be like some elope. I know someone can help you elope at the top of a mountain here in BC. So I'll let you know about how that works. It's a pretty amazing, perfect COVID wedding. You take a helicopter to the top of the mountain.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have to connect with her.
I know. I was like, this sounds exactly like the way that you and Denis would get married. So, oh, my friend, I thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with our audience today. Thank you for your vibe and your energy. I'm just thrilled to have been in your presence for this interview. I just thank you so much, Natalie. And I'm so excited to share this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was so much fun. I love you. You're such a good friend. Thank you. Thank you for everything. And yeah, for this invitation, I'm really touched and honored.
Oh, you're welcome.